Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope y'all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And with Formal announcing his Shock retirement just over a week ago now, there's been a lot of talk about maybe could he potentially return at any point down the line. It goes on to say exactly what reasons contributed to him making the decision to retire, the online era potentially being one of the bigger ones, but also saying it's not out of the realms of possibility a return in the future. Very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, wanted to talk about this thing, because yesterday, we're talking about, yes, it was September the 5th. That means that players can confirm players to their rosters, start signing them, as we may well have been happening right behind the scenes, that we haven't seen over these last 24 hours or so. However, doesn't necessarily mean that announcements are going to come in thick and fast. They could be spread out over days and weeks. I mean, last year, it took quite a long time for some of these things to all get confirmed. Having said that, though, given that the players are probably now beginning to get locked in terms of the contracts, they've probably got to think about, okay, how are they going to film these content pieces they want to do for the announcements? Are they going to talk with other teams to say, okay, are you doing an announcement today? Like, when should we do our announcement? These types of questions, and that means that things are going to take a little bit longer. As Crone says right here, contracts, content, flying players out if needed, editing, everything else in between. Don't hold your breath for announcements. Even if teams don't make content for announcements and just use last season's headshots, doubt we see too much indeed today. So could be a while until we see some announcements actually come through. Still, we have no real idea what's going on with Paris, what's going on with that Chicago spot that LRG seem to still be owning. And well, of course, many questions are continue to be raised for the coming days and weeks. But announcements, probably, my expectation would be today's Monday. We'll see like maybe 2 or 3 things that come out this week. But maybe it'll be less than that, maybe it'll be more than that. Who really knows, honestly. This I thought was kind of interesting right here. There was some discussion from Slasher and well, Saints are going back and forth. This a couple of people are pointing out from Slasher, right? This is a new profile picture. I guess the old one was when he was on Los Angeles Thieves or something, so I guess now he's left, he decided to change it. But I just, this is of course when the World Championship winning Envy team, I guess, from way back in Black Ops 3 with aBeZy here. And I do wonder what exactly is going to happen to aBeZy, because none of the rumoured rosters so far we've seen aBeZy be anywhere. But of course, we do have this current rumoured roster over at Los Angeles Guerrillas of Slasher, Gunless, Huke, and Seam. We'll have a look at just here in a second. So could aBeZy maybe be a substitute on that team? That might be a possibility. I don't know if, well, at the end of the day, we read into a lot of tweets and bait and stuff. Really get to someone's profile picture is probably one step too far. But at the end of the day, they do still get on well, I imagine, Slasher and aBeZy. So maybe that's something that could happen, because aBeZy might not have done, last season, of course, on Guerrillas, he was there. So it might make sense to bring him back as a sub or something. But it might be difficult for him to find a starting spot elsewhere, just because the pretty, terrible season that LAG had, all things considered. And that clearly they're going for, well, a much upgraded lineup. You could well argue with this one that Chrome was talking about just a couple of days ago. This also that I honestly did think, like, on my phone, the internet is sometimes kind of dodgy in here. So I generally did believe initially that there was something like some sort of image I wasn't seeing. I knew it wasn't going to be an actual proper announcement, because it was too early for that. And also because, some of the replies here were kind of like, just indicated that it was a bait. But anyway, this image, like, if you guys saw this, I couldn't figure out what's going on. This is just a straight up brown image. So yes, Mutiny is just basing us all, and well, maybe an announcement coming soon. But with the fact that Neptune is supposedly going to go to New York, probably more than likely that Neptune will get announced to be leaving the squad, and he'll join New York before they actually announce what they're going to be doing as the Mutineers. And maybe they have all their players they want right now already currently signed to the organisation, which, well, as we talked about the last couple of days, would be certainly a bit of a surprise. This also from the Paris Legion side, because, well, we saw last season they waited so long, because they were like, okay, yes, we're not paying more than 50 grand per player, we're paying the minimum salary for everyone, we're going to wait for everyone to be signed everywhere else, and then we'll try and build a, leftover squad, which at the end of the day didn't really work out. They weren't the worst team in the league all the time, but they had the worst average placing. They made $0 prize money on the year, so that's pretty impressive to be that poor. So, at the end of the day, we won't be announcing as late this year, though, so I don't even know what's going on with Paris right now, like whether they will be announcing over the coming days that they're going to sell their spots, or whether they're not announcing that at all, and that's not going to be the case after all, and they're going to announce their roster a bit earlier this year. I don't really know, but there have been some rumours flying around about Paris. There's been some talk about them looking into some European challenger talent. I think even some people were saying that they're, picking up a player that hasn't really been in the Pro League for a few years, so maybe they're going for an actual French player like Whalers or something, and they decided to bring him back, because the last time he was in the Pro League, I believe, was probably World War II time in like 2018 or something. So pretty interesting stuff, definitely one to keep your eyes on. But let's talk about this then, right? So a few days ago now, 28th of August, Formal retires from Call of Duty. Pretty massive shock to the scene, right? And we did see, come out as a result, like Scump went on to say yes. Of course, with this whole crazy merger happening, it seems, between OpTic and Dallas, Scump, it was like, Envoy and Formal, like, we're going to be parting ways effectively. And Formal decided, like, do I want to join another organization? situation and run it back and try and do what I kind of did after I left and, you know, kind of got dropped in a sense for the OpTic dynasty when that broke up after CWL Seattle back in World War II now in 2018 in going to Luminosity and dealing with that for a couple of years before then getting brought back under the Huntsman and now on OpTic again. And of course I've rescinded all the opportunities for content it brings, right? Like Formal for a number of different reasons probably didn't want to leave OpTic, and of course if you can't play for the Call of Duty team over there, probably going elsewhere doesn't make too much sense right now, especially with how he feels like he is in the current state of his career. Talking about exactly why he decided to retire, the way the online era really could have been the nail in the coffin, I suppose, of his career, because you know the frustrations that he had dealing with that and just not really fun to get on and grind all day at practice, right? And maybe we saw that to some degree in OpTic this past season, right? Because in previous titles, Formal was an absolute menace on the main assault rifle, right? This guy was an absolute wizard, and you know this year we didn't really quite see that. There was a few times where he was doing well and his communication was largely talked about, but not really did Formal have any crazy standout series or even maps in particular. Some occasional ones that stand out for sure, but nothing crazy like we'd used to see in previous seasons. So it seems like that might have been affecting him already this season, the kind of frustrations we're continuing to play, and well, this is what he has to say on that, well, the difficulties and why he might retire, but also why after Vanguard, which he doesn't seem to be too keen on, he might even make a return.
Made you want to do
You know
that?
what happened? I was watching a video. It was just like a random Twitter clip. I was smoking a cig, and I heard I couldn't really see what was happening in the video because like the sun was out, but I could hear what was going on in the video, and it sounded just like the World War II announcer, and it just like gave me the most sour taste in my mouth. I was like, I do not want to play this game again. So like, yeah, I don't know. I still have a bad taste in my mouth about it. I mean,
he cried the first day.
Huh?
You cried the first day.
I almost did.
Yeah.
I almost did.
Yeah, I would have.
Yeah, you remember when we came to the studio the other day? Yeah, Brandon was like hella sad. So, but yeah, I mean, I feel the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same.
What it is like to be you with your skill, knowing that you can still compete, but just like your dedication to it is not there.
Yeah. I mean, over the years, it's just kind of like, I don't know if it's like the online era of COD that's kind of like been the final, like, the thing that drained me, like, final, but it's just getting on and screaming every day. It's just like not it for me anymore, man. And I might just need a break from it for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I mean like a year break, and maybe I'll want to do it again. But for right now, like just that whole process of just scrimming and trying to get good and get better as a team, it's just not sounding like fun to me right now. Especially on a game I don't think I'm gonna like.
Yeah.
So.
So of course he does go on to talk about Vanguard, right? And I'm saying, look, he doesn't really like the look of it. There was sour taste in his mouth, I think he described, when he heard kind of the menu music and stuff of Vanguard. So he doesn't believe he's going to like the game. The beta, the embargo lifts for the beta tomorrow. So that means we're going to get some, we're going to start getting to see some multiplayer gameplay from the beta and stuff like that from some of these content creators and media. So that's pretty exciting stuff. And of course, that's going to be a lot more in-depth than the alpha, you would well imagine. But still, yeah, Formal not necessarily convinced that he's going to like the game and wants to skip this year most certainly, and maybe at some point he could come back. But talking about the online era really it made it a difficult time to be a competitive Call of Duty player, especially someone who's been a veteran in the scene for so many years. I mean, this is his career card we looked at the other day. Pretty remarkable how long he's been around, done so many things in Halo before he even came to Call of Duty, and then became one of the best players in the scene pretty much overnight. So definitely makes sense for Formal to step away as he is, but I'm sure a lot of people would like to see maybe him return in the future. I just think it's going to be so hard, right? Like once you go into content and you make way more money, I imagine, like doing content, especially at a level like Formal is at, than playing Call of Duty at a professional level, and also getting rid of all of that stress. It's very unlikely that he does make the return. It's why, a guy like Scump, we want to see him stay around for as long as possible, because as soon as he goes, he'll make so much money doing content, there won't be too much reason for him necessarily to return. But for now, he's going to stay here. This is another thing that, Chrono's talking about, right? Because yesterday we discussed Dead Silence as a field upgrade. Not exactly ideal necessarily for Call of Duty Vanguard, but Strike 2, says Crone. The minimap still does not show any red dots when enemies fire weapons. We talked about this a while ago now, but yeah, it seems like it's just like Modern Warfare 2019, where the minimap is just like the Modern Warfare minimap, and yeah, kind of frustrating. I thought they might change this back if they come to their senses somehow. Then they could have changed this back to the way it was in maybe better Call of Duties. But yeah, it seems like we're going for this route again with I guess the compass or whatever they had at the top. I don't really know why they decided to do this, but still, yeah, some signs like this that Formal's probably looking at and thinking, yeah, I'm pretty happy that this was the year that I decided to step away from it all. And well, some other things as well. I wanted to mention this from Vivid, because it'd be a massive surprise if Vivid didn't get a spot somewhere, because I mean, there's only so many great SMG talents in the league. Vivid is certainly one of them. The fact that he's not going over to Los Angeles Guerrillas again, for example, or some of these other rumored rosters is kind of a surprise. There still are some other teams up for debate. I mean, Florida, I think, would be a great fit for a guy like Vivid, to be honest. I think that would make a fair bit of sense, but maybe they don't want to do that. I'm not really sure. And maybe these other teams like the Legion or, you know, whatever the Chicago spot is going to be, if it's even still going to be in Chicago, Vivid could be a target for guys like that. It's pretty unclear right now. We get this from Decimate as well. Myself and Saint will be changing gamer tags. Updates coming soon as this kind of image comes out right here in terms of like players' roles, maps they played in, challenges, all this type of stuff. Saint says, you know, my next chapter as well. So we saw this from Slasher a couple of days ago, and then, well, not too long after this, he got released from Los Angeles Thieves onto his next event and potentially at the Gorilla. So who knows what happens with Saint, but, you know, Decimate as well. There's only so much good, you know, relatively consistent and experienced type SMG players in the league. These are guys that, well, could potentially fit that mold. And just to finish off with this, right, because talking about Los Angeles Guerrillas, this, of course, is the Los Angeles Thieves AR combo. Kenny is one of them. Kenny had the best per 10-minute stats for an AR all season by quite a margin. That is pretty remarkable. I mean, look at this per 10 minutes. Like, kills per 10 minutes in the 99, damage per 10 minutes in the 99 for hardpoint, and control also way up there. So Kenny was like such an aggressive SMG, even like while he was considered to be the main AR at a time on that team, even though you could argue that Drazah actually kind of played more of a main AR kind of anchor role when Drazah was kind of the AR combo to Kenny for a time. And then, of course, Drazah went on to be like the main SMG player on that team. So he honestly did it all. But yeah, Kenny, super aggressive AR. I think Kenny and Octane are going to be a very exciting AR duo, because of course, as you can see, Octane right here, the kills per 10 minutes, damage per 10 minutes a bit lower, but stats and, you know, KD a little bit higher here, even on Seattle Surge, because yeah, that makes a fair bit of sense, right? And that could be a great combo and a back and forth like we used to have a few years ago, with Octane kind of as the main anchor AR, and then Kenny being the hyper aggressive AR, as he does really well this season, and well, pair with a nice SMG combo in Envoy and Drazah. It's definitely an exciting team to watch. I think a lot of these teams have been upgrading and trying to accelerate their, well, development for next season, because well, it's going to be an insane year, no doubt about that one. But no Formal, of course. Very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. And if you enjoyed this content, I'd be like you may enjoy this content as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.